Donald Trump has refused to take Albanese's phone calls and has now slapped 25% tariffs on Australia. This is a direct result of Australia having a left-wing, weak Prime Minister in Albanese who's repeatedly voted against American interests at the United Nations and has cozied up to China. Now it's Australian businesses that will suffer, with about 15% of Australian aluminium and steel exports going to the US. And there's an estimated 100,000 workers in this steel industry.
Damn.
And the stock market also fell 1.3% today, wiping about $30 billion from the ASX. The White House confirmed at 6 a.m. that we wouldn't be exempt from the tariffs, with the press secretary Carolyn Leavitt saying that Trump considered it and considered against it. There will be no exemptions. And that was first in the Herald. As you may recall, last Monday I reported that Albanese had been desperately, frantically trying to get Trump on the phone, but that the president was refusing to take his calls. Here was the start of that report. That Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has not managed to schedule another call with President Donald Trump, despite trade tariffs due to take effect in just 8 days and a Chinese warship circling Australia.
Wow. 3
sources tell me that Albanese and his representatives have been desperately contacting Republican networks in the US. So that was just 8 days ago.
Scary stuff. It seems like Trump is going to use this as a draw card to, I guess, he wants to try and motivate the Australian people not to vote for Albanese because he considers Albanese a left-leaning, government, left-wing globalist, as he would like to say. And so he's kind of giving Dutton the upper hand here.
And at the time, Albanese strongly denied to me that the president wasn't taking his calls. Sources tell me Albanese has been trying to set up a call with Trump, but Albanese denies this. The Trump administration is well aware of both Albanese and Kevin Rudd's past comments about the president. And I approached Rudd and the Prime Minister for comment. A spokeswoman for Albanese said, "This is wrong. It's an absolutely incorrect insinuation that they have been rebuffed." So just last Tuesday, Albanese categorically said my report was wrong, that Trump wasn't refusing to take his calls.
Okay.
Now, Albanese promised to return integrity to politics. He said he'd do politics differently. But it turns out he's just as grubby a liar as any politician that came before him. And today the Prime Minister was caught out lying over his desperate attempts to get Trump on the phone, because he finally admitted the truth, that the President of the United States has been rebuffing his calls. Albanese was asked today why he hadn't spoken to Trump since February the 10th, and he admitted that he had been trying to get him on the phone.
Did you try and set up a second call with Trump on tariffs, and if not, why not?
Look, we'll continue to engage in all vehicles we have, continue to put in a request for another discussion with President Trump.
Are you disappointed that requests to have second phone calls with Trump couldn't be fulfilled? Friends should pick up the phone, shouldn't they?
We've engaged. We've engaged, including through writing, including at senior levels of the government. People would be aware. The Treasurer, the Trade Minister, a range of the Foreign Minister have all visited and have all engaged.
And thanks to Sky News
what a weird Prime Minister,
Crystal Wu for asking that second
We've
question.
engaged.
But how embarrassing
Can't believe that's
for
our Prime
Albanese.
Minister.
How utterly humiliating. But also, isn't it a sorry state of affairs when you can trust a journalist more than you can trust the Prime Minister? Albanese and those who speak for him are professional liars and evaders of the truth. And there's been no apology today for lying. The reality is Trump hasn't taken his call. He's busy, sure, but Trump works on relationships, leader to leader, man to man. And Albanese has no personal relationship with Trump. the president would also be well aware of what Albanese and his team have said about him in the past. Comments like this.
And as the United States in the last 4 years has been run by a village idiot because of the essential incoherence of the man himself.
We have an alliance with the US, we've got to deal with him, but that doesn't mean that you're uncritical about it. He scares out of me.
And so much more material where that came from, as you've seen. The fact that Albanese would appoint Kevin Rudd to that critical posting shows the lack of respect he holds for Trump. And Trump also knows exactly the type of left-leaning leader Albanese is. As one source with close ties to Trump told me last week about Albanese, Trump's ending the Third World War, no time for anti-Trump
left-wing globalists. Wow.
So Trump and his team see Albanese as a left-wing globalist, according to this source. But Trump can also see through Albanese. As Ray Hadley said here last night, he's the worst prime minister in our country's history.
Albanese's pipped them by a short half head now. He's the worst prime minister I've seen in 35 years of broadcasting.
Now, Australian businesses had no hope of avoiding the tariffs when this is the person running our country. And Peter Dutton today squarely blamed the Prime Minister.
It's obvious that Anthony Albanese and Kevin Rudd have had a shocker. The Prime Minister can't secure a phone call, let alone a meeting with the President of the United States. And how on earth can an outcome be negotiated if the President won't even take the Prime Minister's call? So it's not just Australians who see the Prime Minister as weak and incompetent, it's our trading partners as well. And the sad reality is, because of the Prime Minister's inability to deal with this issue, Australian jobs are at risk and Australian industry is at risk. And the Prime Minister needed to get this right, and he didn't.
And Dutton said he believes if there's a change of government, if he wins, he could get a deal done on tariffs with Trump. Now, we don't know if this is true, but we do know that former Prime Ministers Malcolm Turnbull and Scott Morrison have previously negotiated exemptions with the last Trump administration. And Trump has found time to meet with many other presidents and prime ministers from around the world since his inauguration. He's invited to the White House the leaders of Israel, Japan, Jordan, India, France, the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and more. And Australia is the only Quad partner who hasn't visited Trump in Washington. Now, this is all highly damaging for Albanese with a federal election looming. His failure to maintain any sort of communication with the president is disastrous. The United States is our most important ally. We have crucial strategic ties, strong economic bonds, and shared democratic values. Long term, the relationship will endure, despite the incompetence of our increasingly weak leader. But in the short term, it's Australian businesses and families who'll suffer the most.
Well, there you have it, guys. I agree. I think that deep down, I have a feeling that Trump is trying to play this whole, like, vote for Dutton or else kind of card. Vote for Dutton, otherwise I'm going to bring economic hardship onto Australia kind of attitude. And the election's coming up, and Trump knows this, and Trump has allies here in Australia. He knows what he's doing, so let's see how this plays out.